If I had my way, everything would be so nice. This world would be like Paris. No, it would be a paradise. No one would ever have to say, I'm gonna get my wish someday. All one would have to do is say, this is my order, if you may.
Welcome to another episode of The School Without Walls. This is the second episode of the Black History programs that we are planning in January for the month of February. All of this is pre-recorded. The date is January the 14th, 2016. My guest today is Miss Rebecca Newby, who is a student here at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. We're glad to have you.
I'm glad to be here.
Y hablas español, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Okay, she speaks Spanish. But we won't speak Spanish right now, huh?
No.
We just speak English because we want to make it very clear to the audience.
Right.
We're talking about an event that took place in history some years ago. She would be precise. But we're talking about a character named Willie Lynch. So what do you have to say to us, Rebecca, about this character, Willie Lynch? Let's do it according to what you have outlined there. Okay. Who in the world was Willie Lynch?
Well, from my research, Willie Lynch was a slave owner in the West Indies. Mm-hmm. And the slave owners in Virginia had called and asked him to come and visit because their slaves were out of control. Mm-hmm. And they wanted to know, how did he control his slaves so well, and what were his methods, and how can we get our slaves to act accordingly, the way that we want them to. Okay. And Willie Lynch, he came in 1712 to Virginia, and he presented to them a method, basically. Okay. And he told them basically what he saw even on his way in on the James River was he even saw a slave hanging from the tree. Right. And he asked them, why? Why would you have your slave hanging from the tree? He said, that's property, right? That's property, and you're losing money, and that's not very economical, so why would you do that? And they said, we don't know how to control our slaves. And he said, well, I'll present you with a method. I have a foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that, if installed correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years. 300 years. Now, he said this in 1712. Okay. 300 years from 1712 is 2012.
Hey, 2012.
And believe it or not, his methods are still intact to today.
Still working, right?
Yes, they're still working in 2016.
Well, we got to do something about that, right?
Yes, we really do need to.
We want the public to hear and try to understand this, especially you preachers. You know that I'm rough on preachers because I'm one myself. I can criticize you, whereas Brother Al might be reluctant. All right, go ahead.
The first thing that he basically let them know were the certain differences that existed amongst the slaves. And he listed things such as age, color, or their shade, intelligence, size, sex, sizes of plantations, the status of the plantations, the attitude of the owners, the fine hair versus the coarse hair, the tall slaves versus the short slaves. And he said, use these differences to your advantage. Basically make the slaves pit themselves amongst each other. Fight amongst each other. To where he did a very good job, because still to this day, you hear people say, oh, you acting light-skinned, or you act dark-skinned, or that's a dark-skinned thing, or light-skinned brothers coming up. Right. And good hair and bad hair. Who are you to call someone's hair good or bad?
There you go.
I try to teach myself and to teach people around me that there's no such thing as good hair or bad hair, and that there's only your hair. You have your own hair, and every hair is different, and that doesn't make one better than the other. It just means that it's different. And many people don't understand that because they're stuck in the Willie Lynch syndrome. They have it stuck in their head that if their hair isn't a certain way, then it's bad, it's nappy, it's ghetto. And that's not the truth. The truth is, and I'm glad that there is artists like India Ari who start the I Am Not My Hair movement and things like that. But the sad truth is we still have a long way to go.
Black and proud.
Yes, black.
James Brown made that thing.
Yes, he did.
Right.
But we still have a long way to go, which is what I'm here basically to talk about.
Right.
Yes.
Education, okay?
Yes. Another thing that stood out to me in the Willie Lynch syndrome was his first method. He said, get you a black nigger man, a pregnant nigger woman, and her baby nigger boy.
Okay.
And he said, what we do with horses is that we break them from one form of life to the other, basically reducing them from their natural state in nature to where they can function in society. And he was teaching them how to break a slave, how to break
Break his spirit.
Yes, and he says, you know, keep the body. Keep the body, but destroy the mind.
There you go.
In other words, break the will to resist. And his method for that was take the meanest and most restless nigger, strip him of his clothes in front of the remaining male niggers, the female, and the nigger infant. Tar and feather him. Tie each leg to a different horse, faced in opposite directions. Set him on fire, and beat both horses to pull him apart in front of the remaining niggers.
Okay. We have 1 minute on this side. Okay. Try to conclude with that.
Okay. The next step is to take a bull whip.
Let's not go to the next step. That's the more we want to say about that one. See, we want to be clear that they pull those persons apart in the presence of the women and the children in order to put fear in them, by which the mother special will train her boy to behave appropriately. And we want to underline the word nigger. I want to take enough time, Randy, let me finish on this. We are living in a society where too many African Americans have gotten caught up on proper political correctness, and they won't use the term nigger as she would do it, which is stupid. Because how in the world could you take the N word and get the same meaning when he said what he said,
take the meanest, most restless nigger.
The meanest, most restless N-word makes no sense. There's a time when nigger must be used, but not used to refer to a person.
Right.
When you're talking about history, nigger is not the N-word. So I want to make sure we're clear on that, because we have too many degreed people that we call educated just go political correctness without any thinking whatsoever. So it's not a sin to say niggers, okay? Move on. I believe, Randy, we can stop on this, can't we? We're going to stop on that, and I'm going to see you on the next side of the break, okay?
Okay.
You've messed up your son's haircut.
Mom?
Do you A, try to fix it,
Like it never happened.
B, work with what you got, or C, show solidarity?
Thank you, baby.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Hey, you.
Yeah, you. Getting that college education? What are you gonna do? Graduate and take some office job? Be like everybody else?
Or will you dare do something different?
Like, be a teacher.
Be my teacher.
Be my teacher. You could be my teacher. You got the skills.
The smarts?
Yes, you. You could be the teacher I never forget.
That'd be cool.
Does that corporate job even have recess?
We need more teachers.
We need more great teachers.
Teachers like you.
What are you gonna make of yourself?
What are you gonna make of me?
Those who have just joined you, I'm Anthony Hobbs, host of this educational program, The School Without Walls. My guest today is Miss Rebecca Newby. We're discussing the Willie Lynch syndrome. Would you continue where you stopped?
Yes. Okay. After you take the meanest and most restless nigger and you basically pull him apart with the two horses, the next step is to take a bullwhip and beat the remaining nigger males to the point of death in front of the female and the infant. Don't kill him, but put the fear of God in him, for he can be useful for future breeding. So basically what he said there was, you know, we'll take the most meanest and restless one, and we'll get rid of him.
Right, leadership.
And we got to get rid of we got to kill the head. Then we'll take all the other males and we'll beat them to the point where they're almost dead.
Right.
And all the while this is going on in front of the pregnant women and their infant children. And the main reason for doing this was to reverse the roles. And he basically called this the breaking process of the African woman. The goal of this was to make that African woman who was dependent upon her male to become independent, which is basically what we still see in our society to this day.
More educated women than black men.
The independent woman, the I don't need a man and I'm good by myself. And that comes from the Willie Lynch syndrome. He basically created that to reverse the roles and to make that possible. And you see more men staying at home, and you see men dressing in all type of tight clothes and fitting clothes. And yes, you see them cooking and doing laundry and cleaning for the woman and serving to her. Basically because the way Willie Lynch explained it, he said take 2 pregnant women, and one is pregnant with the man and one is pregnant with a female. And you take away the man immediately after he gets her pregnant. You take away the man. That woman is going to train her son to be dependent upon her. She trains him to submit to her, to serve her, to obey her, and to submit to anybody that's over him. That man is trained to be submissive. But you take that same black slave woman who had a child that was a girl, and she trains her, you know, even if the man leaves, you still have to be able to survive on your own. And you have to be independent. And you can't, you know, you can't get broken just because the man is gone. You got to keep living. And so we look at our society today, and what do we see? We see, even when you look on TV and at the protests that are going on, I remember the woman that was being applauded for, on national television, beating her son for trying to join the protest. And they said she's doing the right thing.
Boy, they built her up, didn't they?
Yes, she's doing the right thing. He's trying to stand up for what he believes in. And she's like, stop, or you're going to get killed.
Right, that's part of the Willie Lynch thinking.
She's doing the slave master's job for him.
Right.
Before they can even reach a certain age, they're already trained to be submissive. They have no rebellion in them. Yes, master, I do whatever you say do. And that comes from the Willie Lynch syndrome.
Very good.
Thank you. It says, for fear of the young male's life, she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak and dependent, but physically strong. Because she has become psychologically independent, she will train her female offspring to be psychologically independent. So that's basically where he says it in the document. And he said, you've got the nigger woman out front and the nigger man behind and scared. This is a perfect situation of sound sleep and economics. All Willie Lynch was trying to show them was an economical way to make slavery easy, to make slavery beneficial and profitable. That's all the goal was. The Negro marriage, we breed 2 nigger males with 2 nigger females. Then we take the nigger male away from them and keep them moving and working. Say one nigger female bears a nigger female and the other nigger bears a male. Both nigger females, being without influence of the nigger male image, frozen with the independent psychology, will raise their offspring into reverse positions.
Let's stop there. We have 3 more minutes in this second half, so let's do a little commentary on that. To this very day, you can better understand history, especially the black experience, if you understand what she's saying. Young men, especially, most men that are 50 and up are just afraid of a white man.
That is true.
They're just afraid. Now, once we understand that, then we can understand why the younger ones are going just the opposite, acting complete foolish. You see, they're not afraid of the white man, they're not afraid of the devil, they're not afraid of anything. You got to have some fear of some power, you understand? But we got to have a balance in this. But the older ones, my dad and that group were punished if they did not behave according to this sin.
Right.
We must understand that. Now, once we understand that, we understand why some of the youngsters have seen this, not understood it, and they are too rebellious.
They
All
are.
right, we have about 2 minutes on this side. What else do you have to say about Willie Lynch?
To touch back on basically the independent woman and the dependent male, it makes me question, is that why we have so many single mother households in the black community? Because the man gets her pregnant, and what was he trying to do? He was trying to leave. He was trying to go on about his life. His life was not even affected by his children. And those women, they were affected by it. But you look at our black men in society, and most of the time, they get a girl pregnant and they feel no obligation towards her, period.
Let me tell you what I call that, people. I call that canine mentality.
Dog.
Same as a dog. We've got to rise beyond the mentality of a dog, young men. Have pride in your own self. When you father a child, thanks be to God, I have 3 sons, and I did instill that in them. You are responsible for that child. Whether you marry the woman or not, it's not the government's responsibility to feed and train your offspring. We want to have more character than a canine. That's a nice way of saying a dog. All right, we're going to stop on this, and we'll come back in a few minutes to close out.
Okay.
The UAPB mobile app helps you stay connected to the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff from wherever you are. You will feel like a part of the pride as you access news, events, courses, maps, and UAPB private apps. To get to your private apps, simply log in using your designated UAPB username and designated UAPB password. You can also watch the latest videos and stay in touch with the campus on Facebook and Twitter. Need help? Simply navigate to settings and click on help. Show the pride, feel the pride, use the pride. Download your UAPB mobile app and stay connected.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Those of you who have just joined us, this is the School Without Walls. I'm Dr. Anthony Hobbs, host. My guest is Miss Rebecca Newby, a student here at the University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff. We're discussing Willie Lynch.
Yes.
Continue, please.
The last thing that I want to discuss about Willie Lynch syndrome was what they did to our mother tongue. Basically, the Africans that came over, another important part of Willie Lynch's method was to take away their mother tongue, to take away their language, to strip them of their history, to take and their culture, everything that was once familiar to them, that they once identified with, they took it away. They taught them a new language. They taught them only parts of their language that they wanted them to know.
Important. Parts of the new language.
That's true. They did not teach them everything. They said, because if you teach him all about your language, he will know all of your secrets, and he is then no more a slave, for you can't fool him any longer.
Let's stop right there for a minute. Students, young people, be sure to read and research. That's what we're trying to get you to do now.
Yes.
Read and research. I call it going outside of the box of education. I have done that. That's why I'm strange to some people. I've been introduced as Dr. Hobbs, a strange man. And the reason they say that, I worked for decades outside of the box. I met folks early like me that helped me. Matter of fact, my principal was like that. She was one who had been exposed outside of the box. If you came from Marion, Arkansas, Robert R. Moulton High School, during the time I was in school, you were conscious of the need to do what we are doing. Explore, study, and don't be second to nothing that you don't have to be second to.
I know that's right. Being a fool is one of the basic ingredients of any incidents to the maintenance of the slavery system.
Being a what?
A fool.
A fool. Okay, go ahead. Being a fool is what now?
It is one of the basic ingredients of any incidents to the maintenance of the slavery system.
Right. Keeping the slavery system going, you must have a bunch of fools.
You must have a bunch of fools.
Go ahead.
They can't have any knowledge of their own.
Right.
They must know only what you teach
What
them.
you want them to know.
And that even goes in hand with religion as well. Whenever religion was introduced to them, they introduced to them what they wanted them to learn.
know, right.
That's right. Obey your master. Don't kill, because
Love
if
your
they
enemy.
love your enemy, because if they love their enemy, then they love their slave master.
Right.
And don't kill, because if you kill, you're killing another slave, and so at that point, it's not profitable.
God is not pleased.
It's not profitable,
That's
and
what
God
they
is
teach
not
it.
pleased.
Right.
Don't steal, because if they were stealing their crops. And so teach them, don't steal.
Right.
Teach
Let's
them.
stop on that for a moment. I want to make a comment on that. So once we understand what she just said, we can better understand why we have so many black entertainers, buffoons.
That's
The
true.
early ones made all kinds of money. We can't really fault them. That was the only opportunity they had, but to be clowns and stuff like that, that was encouraged up until a few decades. Those guys in movies, you had to be a clown. They didn't have what are sort of some of the famous actors like now that plays just a human being?
Denzel Washington. Idris
He
Elba.
doesn't play a clown. He's just an actor, right?
That's
A
right.
bunch of those. But prior to that, if you watch and go into history, that black person in the movie had to be a buffoon, fool. Go ahead.
And sadly, it's not even just in the movies anymore. Now that we're in the social media age, it may not be that many clowns on TV, but if you look on Instagram or Facebook or things like that, most of the guys that get Insta famous, they're dressing up in wigs and dresses, and they're talking crazy, or they're acting like they're a woman, and they're basically making a fool of themselves. The man's image has been destroyed in the black community to where we think that's acceptable, and we laugh at it, and we love that.
You got about 3 more minutes. Try to conclude.
Okay.
Anything else you have to say?
In conclusion, I just want to say that it is important to be aware of our history and to know yourself, so that whenever you see some Willie Lynch syndrome things going on, you can call it out. You can say, hey, don't call her hair bad hair. You're not in the place to say that. Or listen up. It doesn't matter if you're tall or short or where you're from, that dark or light, that it makes you no better than the other. It just makes you different. And everybody has differences. If you look amongst anybody you look at, everybody looks different.
That's a difference.
That's right.
We're individuals, we're different.
And it's about time that we just accept that people are different. And there's not a right way to look. There's not a right type of hair texture. There's not a right complexion. There's no right or wrong to a person. God made all of us in his own image.
All right, let me say this in conclusion. I want to invite you back to do more on the destruction of the African language and religion, how it was imposed and so forth, all right?
All right.
We want to remind the public that the director today was a student, Archie Howard, mass communication major. Let's give him a hand. Of course, it's not over yet, but we want to make sure we get that in. He's an outstanding student here at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. And I want you to tell us a little bit about who you are. You are, and your parents, and whatever, where you graduated.
I'm Rebecca Newby. I'm originally from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. I have 5 siblings. My dad's name is Derek Newby. He's the local coordinator for the AIDS prevention program. And my mother's name is Linda Pennington. She's a nurse. I came here, I graduated from Pine Bluff High School. I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
Now, do a little, not recruiting, I mean. Come on, bring some students in here.
And I love the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. Coming here was the best choice that I could have made, honestly. They had the scholarships available to give students what they deserved. Most schools offered, just half of your tuition, but UAPB has plenty of full ride scholarships available for students out there. And when you come here, it is like home.
We have very few overcrowded classes, right?
That's very true. I
Teachers
enjoy
are
the
close.
small classes. That's one way I even got to know Dr. Hobbs, because I'm not just a number in his class. I'm a student, and that's what's important about
And an
UAPB.
excellent student at that, I may say. Let us conclude now. We should have a few seconds. Again, Archie Howard is our director today. Mr. Randy Kelly is the manager here at the studio, who works very hard to get these programs out for us. Remember, this is the second episode of a series of Black History programs that will be shown in February. Our next person will be a coach, Al Northington, one of the outstanding coaches of America. He's going to come up and tell his story in a more contemporary setting. But Rebecca, we want you to come back the next time Randy and I get scheduled for you to continue with the religion, how we have been affected due to not really studying the history of why we are what. See, I'm a Christian because my parents were Christians.
That's true.
Yeah.
And your parents are
Methodist
Christians because
they
their
were-
parents
their
were.
parents were. So we want to get more serious about everything we do. Randy, is that it? Thank you.
Thank you.